Right, guys.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to tonight's program, Medicare 101. I'm glad to see so many of you here at the library again. It's always good, but also welcome to those on Zoom. We're happy to have you join us however you can. Before we get started, there's some books over here related to tonight's topic. If you have time, browse through them, maybe check one out and take it home. Learn more about Medicare, although your head might be exploding after all the information you'll get tonight. I just want to let you know that we have a few really good programs coming up soon. Is it next week? Yes, it is. On the 6th, at 6:30, October 6th at 6:30, Introduction to Zentangle. If you don't know what Zentangle is, it's a craft or an art. It's drawings of patterns that you put together yourself and create your own little work of art, which you get to take home. The instructor will provide the materials you need if you're here in the room. And if you are going to attend in person, you should register soon because it's limited to 20 people. There still are some seats, but they might be taken before next Thursday. And if you're going to participate over Zoom, the list of what you need is on the website. And I think it's just a few things, and you might even already have them at home. So, and like I said, that is hybrid and register online. And the good news is we're having movies again. We haven't had movies in a long time. And we're starting out with a really good one, Top Gun Maverick. We're showing it on Tuesday, October 18th at 2 p.m. And I haven't seen it. I'm excited. Come and watch it with me. That will be in person only. It's not a hybrid. You have to come and watch it with me. On Wednesday, October 19th at 6:30, we have a program called All Things British. It's kind of timely with the recent death of Queen Elizabeth, but the speaker, and I'm sure he'll touch on that, but he's going to talk about all kinds of things that we might have questions about or be confused about Great Britain. So register for that. It's also hybrid. So you can watch at home or come here. Well, tonight we have Medicare 101. It's tackling a pretty complicated issue that so many of us, all of us will need at some time or another. And if you're new to it, or if you're already on it, it's still good to come into these talks because things change from year to year. We want to find out a lot of things, what's covered, what's not, and everything else, more detail. And we have from Medicare Solutions Network, Mr. Dave Wiley and Ms. Robin Dawson, and they are both chock full of knowledge, and they're chomping at the bit to share it with you. So please welcome Dave and Robin.
Thanks, Janet. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, folks, for coming here tonight. Good evening and welcome. My name is David Wiley. I'm joined tonight by my associate, Robin Dawson. Put everything right on the table right up front. We're insurance agents, but please don't panic. This isn't a sales presentation. Tonight's about education. And you're going to direct a lot of this here tonight with your questions. We'll be very general in our descriptions. You have specific questions, we'll answer those. But as an educational seminar, we want to keep everything at the 2,000-foot level. Want to give you an overview here tonight. What is Medicare? What does it cover? What does it not cover? What are your options for additional coverage? The landscape of Medicare can be very confusing. You might feel a lot like this guy. As you start to approach 65, if you didn't know you were going to be turning 65, you'll be gently reminded as your mailbox fills up with so much crap from the insurance companies, it almost tips over. They put the bum's rush on it. If you've ever owned an insurance policy before in your life, they got your name, they got your address, and they probably have your phone number if you still have a landline. They'll fill up your mailbox. All of your friends and family, they want to tell you which way to go. They mean you well, but in truth, they probably don't fully comprehend what they've done. So for them to direct you is maybe not your best course of action. You got the next door neighbor, they turned 65, they did something. You got the guy at work who knows everything. You got the brother-in-law who never stops, right? All these people are going to try to direct you. They're going to fill your head full of partial sentences and half truths and floating asterisks that you didn't even know were there if you didn't educate yourself. And that's what we want to do tonight. Give you an overview of the world of Medicare. First thing you're going to find is that you've got a new best friend in the world. When you come to the Medicare world, you're making a tectonic shift. You're leaving the under 65 world behind, and you're coming to a new world called Medicare. You've got a new sheriff in town, and that sheriff is looking out for you and making sure that you've got information to make fully informed decisions. It's called Medicare. This book comes out every year. I saw my first 2023 last night. Anybody received your 2023 yet? They're coming, right? Every year, Medicare gives you an update of what's going on. And I call this the encyclopedia of my industry. All that stuff that fills up your mailbox, that's propaganda. That's advertising. That's happy, smiling people with glittering generalities. Very, very thin on details, much more image and advertising is what that is. This thing does two things incredibly well. It's chock full of knowledge, and it's a tremendous sleeping aid. If you have trouble dozing off, this thing will knock you down in pretty short order. It's a dry read. More importantly, it's written by 20 and 30 somethings who are very general in their description of things. They'll give you good information, but very seldom here will you find black and white. You want black and white answers, you need to go to a broker, or even from the booklet, you could call the world's easiest phone number, 1-800-Medicare. Terrific, you should write that down. A world of customer service that you're not familiar with, this new world of Medicare, those people are at that 1-800-Medicare number. They're there 24 hours a day, except for 6 national holidays. And like Jake from State Farm, they're waiting to take your call at 2 in the morning, and they'll give you answers. You know, it's a good customer service because you get a first name and a last name, and they'll never reach out to you. They'll never call you. Before, you'll get a lot of calls from people who intimate that they're with Medicare and they've been assigned to your account and they want to help you sign up. No, those are salespeople. Be very careful. Be very careful of the websites you visit. The best one I would recommend is Medicare.gov, G-O-V. Don't go to Medicare.com. That's a sales site. You'll think that you're getting a free quote or information, and before you can even log off the computer, the phone's ringing. Honey, who is that? Well, it's the people from the insurance company. How'd they find me? Most of us have our email address, a last name in there or something. They know your zip code. They can track you down and they start to hound you. Most of those websites that you visit are pure advertisement. This is the federal government helping us to make fully informed decisions. All sorts of great information. And what we use every year at this time is the ability that we have as consumers to check on what you got. Did you make a smart decision initially? I hope you did, but that initial decision could have changed through the years. And what you have with Medicare, the beauty of this system, a totally customizable platform to you, to your specific needs, that can be changed through the aging process if you keep it on a short leash. Most people don't. They make one decision, they throw it in the kitchen drawer, they never look at it again. That's a tactical error. We like to revisit this on a regular basis to make sure, can we tune it up? And one of the ways we can tune it up is by checking your drug program every year. Robin and I laugh because we call this the most wonderful time of the year. No, it's not Christmas. It's Medicare open enrollment. Starting October 15th, from October 15th to December 7th, game on. You've got the ability to make changes in your drug program. And that can be tough to do because it's a website and maybe you don't navigate it all that well. It's not that tough of a website, but if you can't do that, we'll do that for you. A SHIP counselor, these are volunteers that are wonderfully helpful people. They'll do it for you. The people at Medicare.gov will help you. 1-800-Medicare will help you. There's no excuse not to look at this, but I promise you, most people don't. The statistic we see is people who've made a decision in the world of Medicare, typically 70% of them don't revisit it. It was too damn confusing the first time. They don't want to go back to it again, but that's your mistake, not our mistake. You want to keep that on a short leash. This website allows us to check every one of the drug programs, and we're in anticipation at this point because we won't get to see all the programs for next year until October 1st. That's Saturday. That's a pretty special day in our world. You wake up early with a cup of coffee, and who's got the best price on Eliquis? Who's got the best price on Ozempic? Who's got the best price on insulins? And you cross-reference these products to find out who the winners are in this new contest that happens every year. We'll see, and hopefully we'll see again, the world of competition and capitalism kept on the rails works. And what we have in this world of Medicare is the beautiful intersection of vicious competition and complete transparency. We can see what everybody's doing. If you use that to your advantage, this can be a place where we have the potential to save a lot of money through the aging process. What is Medicare? Pretty simply, it's the government health insurance program for folks over 65. As long as you've worked 40 quarters or your spouse has worked 40 quarters, you're entitled to this. And it's a wonderful benefit. People can come to the world of Medicare under 65. That's kind of sadness where they've been declared medically disabled, or they go straight to it if they've got end-stage renal disease or Lou Gehrig's disease, things that we don't even want to contemplate. But I assure you, those people, when they get to Medicare under 65, that's usually a godsend because it's a great program. It can definitely help them. Under 65 present unique challenges. We'll touch on that a little bit later. But the takeaway from this slide, what you want to be aware of, is as good as Medicare is, and I can't say it enough, it's a fabulous program, but it was never designed to cover 100%. You were always expected to have skin in the game. There's things that Medicare doesn't cover. You can make up for that with additional coverage, but the first thing we want to understand is, what is this Medicare program? What does it do? What does it not do? That's what we're going to talk about here tonight. Medicare is part of the umbrella of the Social Security world. Social Security offices is where there's no Medicare offices. It's all done under Social Security. But the mistake people think is that, well, I can't get Medicare because I haven't activated my Social Security. That's not true. These are two separate benefits. Medicare is the medical benefit. Social Security is where they give you back less than you ever gave them. Okay. Here's where your journey's going to begin. This is your Medicare card. Somebody figured out about 5 years ago, it weren't so smart to use your Social Security number for your Medicare number. So they fixed that, which was good. But what you'd see is a tectonic shift that I've witnessed in the 15 years I've been in this business. Baby boomers were driving significant change in this market. Most baby boomers turning 65, they're in better shape than their parents were at 55. And maybe, just maybe, they're not ready to retire. Many of them are not. Many of them keep working past 65. I would predict if you pulled your mom and dad's Social Security, or your Medicare card, you'd see that they probably activated Medicare when they could first get it. And that would have been the first day of the month in which they turned 65. I don't care that you were born. I care that you were born on the 23rd, but that's irrelevant. The month is what drives this conversation. And Medicare is always going to start on the first day of any given month. And sure enough, you look at mom and dad's card, and I'll bet they probably followed the traditional path. At 65, it's time to retire, right? You retire, you take the grandkids fishing, maybe at work they give you a gold watch. But they would have started their Medicare at 65, and good for them. But many baby boomers continue to work, and this represents one of the first potholes, one of the first toughest things for people to wrap their mind around, because your friends and your family are barking at you. You've got to start Medicare when you turn 65, or there could be a world of hurt coming down upon you. Penalties and lockouts, and oh my Lord, you've got to sign up. And that's a half truth. That's a partial sentence. Because if you continue to work, and where you work, there are more than 20 people that work there, that's called creditable coverage. And creditable coverage would allow you to delay activating this whole Medicare deal. Typically, you could work and take that Medicare Part A. That can't hurt you because A has no premium, and it has some additional benefits. We'll tear that apart here in a second. But this Medicare Part B does have a premium. And we see far too many people who come to this world, they're turning 65, they continue to work. I had a woman just today telling me about, it wasn't a fist fight, but it was a heated conversation with her Mahjong group. And the woman in the Mahjong group said, your husband's got to sign up. He's turning 65. She said, no, he doesn't. Yes, he does. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't, because he's got creditable coverage. He's working where there's more than 20 people. He continues to cover her as well. But we see people who activate A and B, and we'll catch them years later. Last open enrollment, we had a gentleman who came to 2 or 3 seminars, finally understood how Medicare worked. And it was actually better than his wife's insurance. He's been on his wife's insurance. She continues to work, God bless her. But he sits down and we realize Medicare is a better value. So let's go ahead and sign up for Medicare. Well, the first thing you got to do is sign up for Medicare Part B. And he goes, no, I already signed up for Part B. Really?
Yeah, he turned 65 and he activated Part A and B because his friends told him to. And now at 82, he's rolling off of her coverage onto Medicare. For 17 years, he's been paying a premium for something he never needed. That's bitter. That's really bitter. That's why we want to make fully informed decisions here. If you continue to work or you stay on your wife's coverage and there's more than 20 people that work there, you should really think about whether you want to go the Medicare route or stay on the employer plan. And that's interesting because the thing about Medicare is everything's done individually. There's a number of shifts that you got to almost check what you learned up to 65 at the door, because now we're in a new world. When you're under 65 and you're in a group insurance program, you're a couple, you're married, you're a couple. Well, what Medicare does is they're going to break you up, not literally, but they're going to treat you separately and individually. Well, that represents opportunities in the world of Medicare, because sometimes husband and wife are better served. The husband continues to work, the wife goes to Medicare. We could potentially have better coverage in the world of Medicare than she got through the employer plan, but only if you take a look. Most people run on autopilot here. My friend told me I had to sign up. I signed up. We've always been with the employer coverage. We should stay there. Maybe yes, maybe no. This A and B thing would be waiting for you if there's more than 20 people where you work. If there's less than 20 people where you work, I know this is strange, but they require that Medicare go into primary position. So we need to know a little bit more about your situation. Understand that Medicare won't even let you sign up for this thing more than 3 months out. If you're currently receiving Social Security benefit payments, maybe you turned it on early, maybe you've got disability payments, whatever, but if they know they can snatch that Part B premium, they'll go ahead and send you the card. They figure there's enough baby boomers turning 65. Let's just pick up the pieces, pick up the steam and send that card out. You could look on the back of it, sign it, and send it back if you wanted to deactivate the B. But the only way that they'll send this to you automatically is if they can receive that Part B premium. Otherwise, it's a pretty easy process to go online and sign up right online, or you can make an appointment to go into your local Social Security office. But let's be sure that somewhere in this area, we're having a clubhouse meeting. 3 months before your birth month, you'd go effective the first day of the month in which you turn 65. You wait until that birth month. Somehow you missed the fact that you were turning 65, but now you realize you sign up in your birth month, you go effective the very first of the next month. But if you wait until these later months to enroll, you can still enroll. There's no penalty, but there can be a timing delay. And when they activate the B, the idea here is the government wants everyone in the pool paying premiums as soon as possible. Your coverage could start on the first day of the month in which you turn 65. A has no premium, but B does have a premium. This is what those premiums look like, and they're graded for income. There's an old adage that we learned very early in our lives: the more you make, the more they take. And Medicare is no different. They're trying to feed this beast. It's an expensive program. What they're doing is they're looking at your tax returns, and the government is very happy to participate in your success. What they're doing is they're looking at what you make as a couple or individually, and they're saying, if you've been particularly successful, if you're making more than 182K, congratulations, we're going to charge each of you more on the Part B. Baby boomers are making significant changes at 63, 64, 65 and beyond that can have a sonic boom effect that they're not even aware of. I'm stunned at how many financial planners we speak with and work with that aren't aware of this. A lot of baby boomers over the course of the last 2-3 years, as the market is tapered, they've been moving money from their 401ks into Roth IRAs. If you understand the concept, a Roth IRA will be tax-free further down the road, but you took it out of your tax-deferred vehicle, you moved it into your Roth IRA. That was a taxable event. They treat that as if it's income. That's going in the bucket. You sold some stocks at a profit, not lately, but maybe back in the day. That's going to go in the bucket. And they're looking for every nickel they can lay their hands on, because if you make more, they're going to charge you more on the Part B. They're also going to charge you more on the drug program as well. The way this works, the government is handicapped by their computers. They will be looking at their computers. So in 2022, they only have eyes on what you filed in 2021. What you filed in 2021 actually reports what you made in 2020. So there's the sonic boom effect. You're doing stuff today that won't even show up here for 2 years. They have a heart. We do have the ability to appeal these higher amounts based upon certain life-changing events. These are key terms that we want to understand. Creditable coverage, life-changing events. Well, one of the number one life-changing events would have to be retirement. You might have killed it in 2020. You did great in 2021. And most people, as they move to retirement, those are their prime earning years. But then you retire, and we do have the ability to file an appeal and say, hang on, wait a second. I'm not making that kind of money anymore. I want to have an adjustment based upon the reality of today, not what you're looking at 2 years ago. And they're going to be looking at your income every year, but they're always going to be looking 2 years back. So yeah, you may need to file an appeal in 2022 and even another appeal in 2023 to make sure that you're paying the minimum amount for your Medicare Part B. We just don't want to give the government one more nickel than they're already taking. Forewarned, please. You bet, that's the best way to go.
So then every year then, if you wanted, I guess, does your amount change every year based on your income? Or do you have to ask for an amendment?
If your income goes up, then this will go up. But most people, when they retire, they start to come down a little bit, right?
Right.
But you become master of your own destiny to a certain degree. How much are you going to take out of that 401k? How many of those stocks are you going to sell? We had a couple not a month ago. They helped their daughter buy a condo. This was lovely. They took money out of their 401k. Of course, it's there for you and your children to enjoy. They took out $5,000 too much. They went over this threshold without even understanding the rules of engagement. They will pay more because of that. Because your withdrawal of a 401k, that's not a life-changing event. You decided to do that. That's not appealable. But yes, they'll be looking at it every year.
So then the next year, when you don't go over that amount, your number's gonna go back down.
Exactly.
Oh.
As long as they can see it. But remember, they're always hamstrung because in this year, they're looking at last year's filing. Last year's filing reports what you made 2 years ago. Always rolling, okay? Be forewarned. There's 4 parts of Medicare. We're going to tear them all apart here tonight in the next 4 hours. Just kidding. A and B are going to form the foundation. A and B, got to have that to do anything else. Once we look at A and B, hopefully you'll have the respect that I do, and you'll say, man, A and B is pretty awesome. For $170.10 a month, it is amazing coverage, but it's nowhere near complete. Once we understand that, we're certainly going to want to consider pick up a Medicare drug program. That would be really important. And yeah, that is a place where if you don't have creditable coverage and you never took a drug program, there is a penalty that accrues through the years. We also would want to take a look and be aware of what are these things that Joe Namath and Jimmy J.J. Walker and William Shatner and new to the party this year, Lionel Richie. Lionel Richie is going to start hawking these things called Advantage programs. We have a pool that we all throw money in at our office, and we get to bet on who the next washed up celebrity is that's going to start hawking Medicare Advantage programs on TV. I got Arnold Schwarzenegger. I'm feeling pretty good about that, but I don't know. We'll have to see. But all of this other stuff is predicated upon you having Medicare A and B in place. So let's take a look at that. A and B. A and B form the foundation. Does everybody have the roadmap to Medicare? If you don't, we got them right up here up front. What I like about this is it's simple. Let's break this down into bite-sized chunks and try to figure it out. Most presentations are going to start with A and B ain't complete. That's why you need an Advantage program. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. That's not what you need. You need to understand what's going on here. A and B form the foundation. Good, but not complete. Once we've got A and B in place, then it's game on. This is between you and the federal government. All this other stuff is where Robin and I play. This is where we help you navigate choppy waters and understand what all this stuff does. Once you have A and B, you come to a fork in the road and you have 2 different pathways to potentially travel. One pathway is called Original Medicare. And that's where we have Medicare in primary position. It's not complete, so we add a supplement and a drug program, and those 3 pieces acting in concert provide your coverage. What we like about that, any doctor, any hospital, anywhere in the United States, they take Medicare, you're in. 23 drug programs to choose from currently. 40 supplemental companies now in the market doing battle, but all playing by Medicare rules. Or there's this other possibility, this thing called Medicare Advantage, a different idea, a different structure. Now, instead of using your A and B, you literally put that card away. We refer to these as Medicare replacement plans. You're not using Medicare. You still got to pay the Part B premium. If you're getting dinged on income, you're still going to pay that on the drug program in the Part B. But on this side of the equation, put your card away because now you've gone to a private insurance company. By definition, they will be a more limited network and they trade co-payments for services for lower premiums. We're going to tear that apart. We're going to show you how that works. But the first thing you got to understand is before we do anything, what are we getting from original Medicare? What does that look like? So let's start there at the beginning. Very, very good place to start. Medicare Part A. No premium. I always get a kick out of agents when they tell you it's free. It's not free. You paid a boatload in taxes. They just don't charge you more when you come to the party. But this A is covering us for a certain set of circumstances in our world of healthcare. In fact, if there's one word for A, I want you to write down facilities or buildings, if you like. But in the world of Part A, we're going to cover you for all those doors that you walk into. Well, certainly in the world of buildings and healthcare, no program would be complete without hospitalization. That's probably the most important worry that we got, a hospitalization stay. And that's going to come up under A. But don't let me rain on your parade. The hospital's not free. You have a copayment. And then you might discharge from the hospital into a skilled nursing facility. And Medicare loves skilled nursing facilities. They're much less expensive. They don't have an MRI machine on every floor or an emergency room downstairs losing money hand over fist. Medicare likes that skilled nursing so much that they'll cover you for up to 100 nights of skilled nursing, but it ain't free. There's co-payments involved. Home health services, Medicare provides for a medical professional to come right to your front door and get you back on your feet. By definition, that's major stuff on a short-term basis. Their job is just to get you up where you can get out the door and see the doctors in person. Home health services, do not confuse that with long-term care. Long-term care is much different. That's a different kind of insurance. That's a different topic for a different night. These people are getting you back on your feet. Long-term care people are coming over to help you get dressed, make you a meal, mow the lawn, do the dishes, that kind of thing. And the last part of A is hospice. And whether that was in a freestanding hospice facility or the privacy of your own home, Medicare picks up almost all of hospice, but you still have skin in the game. You've got responsibility. We said A and B was really good, but it was not complete. You were expected to have some participation because it's not 100% coverage, and that's what this looks like. On Medicare Part A, if all you were doing is running with A and B, and some people make that decision, I'm only going to do original Medicare. Well, you go spend a night in the hospital, that first night in the hospital is going to set you back $1,556 this year. That's for one night. That's kind of scary. Hang on. It's actually for up to 60 nights in the hospital, and that $1,556 continues to cover you upon discharge. So you go in for your burst appendix and you're in for 2 nights. Well, the first night you go home with $1,556, but then you've started your benefit window. 2 nights, you go home, it's all great. 3 weeks later, you got nothing better to do. You decide to have a heart attack and go back in the hospital. You're within your benefit window. They're not going to hit you again for the $1,556. But on day 61, the whole thing resets. So if you timed it just wrong, you can hit this thing several times in a year. From the hospital, you might discharge to a skilled nursing facility. And Medicare says, that's really good. We got you for up to 100 nights. The first 20 nights would be no charge to you. But the next 80 nights, that can get spendy because this year it's $194.50 per night. That gets to be kind of rich. Understanding that after 100 nights, Medicare says, sorry, we don't pay for long-term care coverage. If you can't get out of a skilled nursing facility in 100 days, after that, you're paying everything. You're picking it all up. We said Medicare, a world of partial sentences and half-truths and floating asterisks that you wouldn't even know were there if you weren't educated on it. This is a wonderful benefit, but it has a trigger. To get these benefits, you need to be admitted into the hospital for 3 nights. I see some nodding heads. There's 2 ways we can get into the hospital these days. One, there's a diagnosis. We're going to find it. We're going to fix it. We're going to hold you overnight, and we're going to go after it. But the other way that you can be held in, or your choice to be spending the night in the hospital overnight, would be under observational status. That means we're not really sure, but we recommend it's better for you to be 45 feet from the emergency room than a 45-minute ambulance ride. Why don't you spend the night? We'll keep an eye on it. It's not that Medicare doesn't pay for observational stays, they do. But the observational stays do not tick the 3 nights necessary to get your skilled nursing benefit. We had a woman last year, not our client, but she was incensed and called us to find out why she was billed for her skilled nursing stay. She was clearly in the hospital for 4 nights. Yes, ma'am. Can we look at the bill? 2 nights were observation, 2 nights were admitted. That doesn't equal 3 nights. She got hung with the entire skilled nursing bill. This is an important aspect as we move forward. You've got your card in your hot little hand. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? Who's covering it? Who's paying? And what are my alternatives for coverage? We really want to be making fully informed decisions. We don't like surprises. Home health, wonderful benefit, but again, short-term for major stuff. Wound dressing after a major medical surgical procedure, or maybe a handful of physical therapy visits, or maybe an infusion or 2. But they're going to be there for a short period of time. Their job is to get you out the door, go see doctors where it's less expensive. And hospice, I put down 5%, but that's hardly fair. I mean, that's such a minimal amount. Medicare picks up almost everything, but there can be a very small copayment for the medications you take to remain comfortable before you pass away. A has no premium, but it clearly has what we call exposure, things that you'd be reaching into your pocket for. How about B? Well, B does have a premium. And why? Because B is the lion's share of what you're really going to come into contact with. A is all of the buildings. B is everything that goes on in the buildings. A is all of your facilities. B, if there's one word, services. All of your services are going to come up under B. So all of the doctors that you see and all of the specialists that you see, whether you saw them in their office or saw them in the hospital, they're going up under Part B. There was an anesthesiologist one time knocked you out so a surgeon could operate on him. Hey, wait a second, that happened in the hospital. Yeah, I know, but that was the facility charge. That's the gurney and the bright lights. Everybody that touched you, all your labor charges are coming up under B. Your labs, everything from a blood test to a biopsy, all of your diagnostic testing, we call that the expensive alphabet soup. EKG, EEG, MRI, CAT scan, X-ray, stress test, all coming up under B. Get out of the hospital, maybe you need a walker or a wheelchair, or maybe in the hospital, you got a brand new knee or a pacemaker, or you got a COPD machine or an insulin pump. These would all be examples of durable medical equipment. DME comes up under B. If you've ever had a joint replaced and you've gone for follow-up, you're well aware that PT stands for pain and torture. Okay, these people are professionals. You pay them to hurt you. This physical therapy, the ambulance that takes us to the emergency room, everything they do there, all of your outpatient services, and that's basically anything surgical that didn't have you spending the night in the hospital, in and out on the same day. Think cataract, think colonoscopy. Be aware that even now today, miracles in medicine, they're doing outpatient knee replacements. If you can imagine that, that would have kept our parents in the hospital for several days. Now you check in at 6 in the morning, you're leaving at 4:30 in the afternoon with your brand new knee. It's incredible what they're doing. But outpatient services are going to bill up under B. There was a facility charge, but it wasn't spending the night. Medicare will pick that up. That's where they bill those observational stays. If you spent the night in the hospital and you weren't admitted, Medicare will pay for that, but it doesn't tick the skilled nursing benefit. And the last part of B would be called clinical RX. And that's fancy talk for medications that are delivered in a doctor's office or an outpatient setting or in the hospital. Typically, this is the god-awful stuff: chemotherapy, kidney dialysis, radiation treatment, big ticket items. If you're a female, you may be getting Prolia shots every 6 months. If you've seen the price on Prolia shots, it's like $5,000 a throw. Medicare is going to grab that for you because it's administered in the doctor's office. This represents an opportunity for investigation on your part. We're going to see a little later how drug programs have what's called the coverage gap or the donut hole. We'll go into that in depth, but anytime the doctor says you need to start taking this, I want to know, what are my alternatives? Why are we doing this? If I lost 10 pounds, do I have to take it? There's things that we need to be proactive about. And this clinical RX, sometimes you'll be given the choice. You can either show up at the doctor's office once a month and get hooked up, or you can take it in the privacy of your own home. I understand convenience, but I'm the financial guy that said, yeah, but this is so much more less expensive if you have it done in the doctor's office. These are your choices. You made money, spend it however you want to spend it. And I'm not trying to be cold and heartless, but I'm talking about value. Where do we get maximum value? And sometimes this can help us out. A and B structured differently, right? A kind of has a pay-as-you-go mentality, do this, pay that, do this, pay that. B, on the other hand, is different. All of these charges have an annual deductible. Once you've met the deductible, then you shift into cost sharing. Medicare shows up and you start splitting bills. Very similar to what you have through your employer plan. There's a deductible, and then there's this thing called co-insurance. The difference is on your employer plan, there would be a stopgap, a firewall. Medicare doesn't have that, but what it has is some pretty sweet benefits. Under Part B, your exposure looks like this. Annually this year, you have a $233 annual deductible. If you can wrap your mind around that, you're better than me. I'm on the Affordable Care Act. They couldn't say it if it wasn't so. I'm on the Affordable Care Act. I have a $7,000 deductible. Not unusual. Most baby boomers on their group plans, or if they're in individual plans, they're looking at sky-high deductibles trying to keep premiums down. Here, $233. You couldn't see a doctor for retail at $233. I challenge you to find a blood panel that retails for less than $233, but there it is, $233 is on you, after which Medicare is going to step in and start splitting bills with us, 80-20. They pick up 80 cents on the dollar, they hold you responsible for 20 cents on the dollar. And if that wasn't good enough, because that's pretty darn good, what happens once you've paid that deductible, call it that little dash there, Medicare starts taking their negotiated discount. Now, you have group health insurance. If you've ever come and look at your explanation of benefits, you know, one of the reasons you have group health insurance is because the doctor says, I'm brilliant, I charge $350. And your group says, no. We have a lot of people, we're negotiating lower rates. We don't pay the rack rate of $350 because we've got so many people, you're only going to pay $240, right? You get a negotiated discount on your group insurance. And that's good. The negotiated discount that Medicare takes will blow that away. The negotiated discount would make a loan shark blush, okay? With this negotiated discount, that cardiologist says, I'm brilliant, I charge $350. Medicare says, you're adorable, we pay $80. You're responsible for 20% of the $80 after Medicare's taken their negotiated discount. And we see doctor visits coming through at $15, $17, $19. It's amazing how strong this coverage is standing on its own. If you understood the going rate of health insurance in the open market, I said I have a $7,000 deductible, the privilege for which I pay $1,000 a month to carry a $7,000 deductible. And the only discernible benefit is I get maternity coverage. So if I get knocked up, I'm golden, okay? But you look at this and you'd say, man, for $170 a month, it's not complete, but it's an unlimited benefit. That's terrific. If you need 5 knee replacements, they will literally pay for 5 knee replacements. But understand, with the unlimited benefit comes unlimited exposure. Your coverage through work has a firewall, a worst case scenario, maximum. It all goes sideways. They're going to stop someplace. $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 wouldn't be unusual. Medicare does not have that. They'll pay for the 5 knee replacements, but every 61 days, that 1556 will reset. And if you stay longer in skilled nursing, it's $194 a night. $233 is almost incomprehensible in today's terms, but an unlimited 20%, that's got to get your attention, because we all have friends and family been in the hospital for a relatively short period of time, and they've rung up tens of thousands of dollars in bills. This is terrific. And you got to ask yourself, man, it's not complete, but it's pretty good. How do they do it for $170 a month? They don't. The government's dropping close to $1,000 a month on each of us. They ask you for $170, but why do you think they want to charge us more on that IRMA thing? They need money to make this thing operate. Why do you think the taxes keep going up? They need money to make this thing operate. They're spending a fortune on A and B. They're asking you for a minimal contribution. So remember that. The government is not running Medicare on your $170 a month. That will become a key component when we start talking about the world of Advantage and trying to understand how those programs work. A and B good, but A and B nowhere near complete. Any questions on that? Please.
I thought that you purchased Part B through a insurance company.
That would be a common misconception. A and B is from you and the federal government. What you what you buy from a private insurance company is all this other stuff. You're conflating B with a supplement. The supplement will stand in support of A and B, and that's where we head next, okay? A and B good, but not complete. Come to a fork in the road. What are we going to do? Well, there's a lot of choices and a lot of things to do. The first pathway that we want to explore is this thing called original Medicare. I like the fact that it's an unlimited benefit, but I'm terrified that it's an unlimited exposure. So what would we do? We'd look to pick up a Medicare supplement. We call them supplements because they supplement what Medicare does. Or we call them Medigap plans because it fills in the gaps of what Medicare doesn't cover. It's not uncommon in the world of Medicare. We love to call exactly the same thing, at least two different names just to confuse you. I've seen arguments. What's better, a supplement or a Medigap? It's the same thing. So here are products that are brought to us by private insurance companies. And the private insurance companies line up around the block because they want a shot at you. You're getting mail from all of them. What you have here, private insurance companies that agree to play by Medicare rules. Medicare has rules of engagement. Mr. Insurance Company, if you want to sell these things, you're going to sell them according to the way Medicare says, not the way the insurance company says. If you're under 65 and you look to pick up individual insurance, it is a nightmare. They call it different stuff. Humana is different than Aetna, different than United Healthcare. No. Here, they're all going to play on a level field of play that Medicare has designed. This is the second page in your handout. What we have here is capitalism kept on the rails, and it's a beautiful thing. What you have is base benefits. Okay, we just talked about this column right here is what we're getting for our $170 a month, $170.10. We know now that it's good, but we also know now that it's not complete. So Medicare has designed 10 different packages of benefits, 10 different levels of coverage. My God, why 10? Because different people have different needs. This field of play, what you use to augment or supplement your original Medicare, it can be lavish or it can be Spartan. It can be the penthouse or it can be the pup tent. This is up to you. What do you want your additional coverage to look like? And please understand how insurance companies work. The more you want them to do, they're happy to do it. But the more they do, the more they charge. So let's get a grip on what's going on here. These packages of benefits, Medicare says what they are, not the insurance companies. Medicare has designed this field of play, and we currently have 40 companies here that want to sell you these things. Baby boomer market is huge, 10,000 a day, turning 65. This is big business, but they're straddled, they're put on the guardrails by Medicare. If you look at these packages and maybe you look at N, and understand what's going on here. Come to Medicare on this pathway, there's a tectonic shift. We put this into place and we move down this pathway. A and B is now moving into primary position. A and B, Medicare now is your primary coverage. And that's a tough one for people to wrap their minds around. Their entire working lives, they had a group health insurance policy. Maybe it was with United Healthcare or Blue Cross or Aetna or Cigna or any of them. And you knew that on that group insurance program, boy, you better not go out of network, because you go out of network, you're going to get killed with out of network charges. That's why you stay in network, to get your negotiated discount. And they make sure that you stay in network if you're smart. But now we're coming to Medicare. We're coming to a new world. What's my network with this new Medicare thing? Any doctor, any hospital, anywhere in the United States, they take Medicare, you're in. I don't care how good your group is. You've got solid gold group coverage, their best possible network. Medicare is going to blow it away. Because whether you're in Key West or you're in the Grand Tetons, your only question is, do you accept Medicare assignment? If they take Medicare, you're in. The supplements are reporting and supporting what A and B cover. If we look at N as in Nancy, understand Medicare says what N is, not the insurance companies. Wait a second. You're telling me that N from Blue Cross Blue Shield is similar to N from Mutual of Omaha? No, it's not similar. It's identical. Medicare says what N is, not the insurance companies. Yeah, but for 65 years, 65 years, 65. Hang on a second. I know my doctor takes Blue Cross Blue Shield. Does my doctor even take Mutual of Omaha? No, sir. Does your doctor take Medicare? Medicare is now primary. Medicare is moving into primary position. They do all the billing. They do all the networking. They do customer service. And because it's nationwide, that allows 40 different companies to come chase your business. Capitalism is a beautiful thing if you keep it on the rails. Please.
So do they all charge the same?
Of course not.
Of course, okay.
Okay. But that's where we were going. You
Okay.
got 40 companies offering N. Well, if it's the same coverage and it's the same network, why would there be 40? What's the difference? 40 held on a level field of play. What's your price? What's your price? What's your price? What's your price? That's one question. But I would go further and I would ask, what's your track record? How long you've been in the business? What's your history of rate increases? What's your financial rating? I can always show you a cheaper rate, but just like if you've ever looked at annuities, the shady annuity companies pay really high return. Because are they going to be around in 20 years? I don't know. I don't want to hitch your wagon to Northwest Arkansas Mutual, who's been in the market now for over 15 minutes. And they got really good rates, but yeah, they got a B- rating. I'm not going to hitch my wagon to a B- company. We'll stay here on this field of play. Robin and I will typically focus in on the big four, the ones that have been there for decades. They got A+ ratings. They've got wonderful large risk pools. Why is that important? Well, because the larger the group of the insured, the more modest the rate increases. What are you talking about? Medicare says that there's basically 3 basic rules. You want to come to do battle here? Well, of course, you got to have the finances and the computers. You better have the consumer support. You better not get any complaints because they'll pull your license. But that's just to get in the door. But then you got to play by Medicare rules. 3 big rules. When you first activate Part B, that could be when you turn 65, or it could certainly be when you wait further down the road because you continue to work and you had creditable coverage. You roll off and you activate your Part B. Medicare says all of these companies, they got to offer you all their products, guaranteed issue, no pre-existing conditions, no riders, no waivers. You've got a window there to be able to go anywhere. Second rule, they can never drop you. You're theirs and they're yours until the day you die. Or we find a better alternative. You can cancel out, but they can't cancel you. And most importantly, on the supplements, you can never be singled out for a rate increase. What? All of your claims, if we did, for example, we did N with AARP, just for an example, you would go into a risk pool with everyone that has N from AARP in the Chicagoland area. Different regions have different risk assessments, but Chicago has a certain risk assessment, and you'd be with the N from AARP. You have a terrible year. First diagnosis, dread disease, snake bite, fall off a roof, car wreck, stroke out. They can't come to you and say, man, you were really expensive. We're going to raise your rates. No, they share your claims with everyone that's got N from AARP in the Chicagoland area. Safety in numbers. Bigger risk pools sharing claims over an ever expanding group of a lot of baby boomers joining these programs, sharing in your claims, help keep costs down. Some of these smaller companies that will allure you with a sharp rate, they're insuring 40, 50 people in the state, literally, which works great if it's a group of marathon running monks, but typically it isn't. What you're going to do is you're going to be in a group and there's going to be that one guy that got the lung transplant. Damn it. That's expensive, and those 50 people are going to share in that lung transplant. That's why the smaller companies can be going up 15, 18, 25% a year. It's terrifying because people in this world, there's an old adage, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. And there's a little knowledge here because people don't understand the ground rules. Maybe they get it. The 3 big deals here, guaranteed issue, it never be dropped, and can't be singled out for a rate increase. That's why we like the big A+ companies sharing rates and claims over thousands of people. But the one trick that people will forget, they believe that supplements operate the same way the drug programs do. Because remember, the drug programs, every year we can change those from October 15th to December 7th. So no problem. I'm gonna go online and I'm gonna find the least expensive price for the N and I'm gonna sign up. And if it all goes to heck, not a problem, because every year I can change my supplements guaranteed, right? Wrong. You get a window here. You get a 1-year window. We call it your golden ticket. 6 months before you activate B, 6 months after you activate B. Go anywhere you want to go. They got to take you. It's the law. No pre-existing conditions, no riders. They can never drop you. They can't single you out for a rate increase, but that's a limited window. And sure enough, 6 months after you've turned 65 or activated Part B, well, then what happens? Then we can change these supplements every month of the year. Hey, that's terrific. Hang on, there's an asterisk there. We can change these every month of the year, but now they can ask medical questions. Now they can stop you at the door. I'm sorry, did you say knee replacement? Thanks, but no thanks. AFib? No thanks. Diabetes with high blood pressure? No. They can stop you at the front door and they can decline your ability to move.
I'm sorry, you just went way too fast on that. Can you just go through that one more time?
Sure.
Like what are you allowed to do 6 months
You
before?
get 1 year to pick your supplement. Guaranteed. Yep, 1 year. After that 1 year, we call that your golden ticket. 6 months before you activate B, 6 months after you activate B, everybody's got to take you. It's game on, they're all on. But I would suggest to you that's a very important time to sit down and analyze what you're doing, because you better choose wisely. If you go with Northwest Arkansas Life, and all of a sudden you find out that their rates are going up 15, 20%, whatever that is, more than the big companies, and you want to move on this field of play, we currently have 40 companies and they all got to take you when you're in that 1 year window. But after that, if you want to make a move, you can move every month of the year, but 39 out of 40 companies will ask you underwriting questions. They reserve the right to say, thank you very much, but no, thank you. They can hold you back and say, we don't want to take that business. We do have a blessing in Illinois, and boy, you don't hear that often. The blessing we have in Illinois is we've got one of these Medicare supplement companies that does not ask medical questions. You're 85 with emphysema, I can still move you every month of the year, please.
What are these 4 big companies you keep referring to?
We had a same question from the virtual audience.
Did I get a specific
I wanted to
question
ask it.
about insurance companies? That is an educational seminar I am not allowed to answer, but I got a specific question from somebody in the audience. You guys hear that? Okay, good. She wants to know, what are the big 4? In our world, that would be in no particular order. We represent them all. I'll show them all to you. We're Switzerland. We're neutral. Let's find out what works for you. I would say in no particular order: Blue Cross Blue Shield of Illinois, AARP, which is actually United Healthcare, Aetna gets a shout out, Mutual of Omaha is outstanding. They're all good. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Mutual of Omaha is just the same as all. You get the point. But those are the 4 big guys. General rule of thumb: if you're buying a supplement and it's from a company you ain't never heard of before, I would stand back. What you'll find is captive agents that get fed leads from the company they represent, but they only represent that one company. That takes away the dynamic of what's going on here. I'll show you all 40 companies. I'll show you all 23 drug programs. I'll show you on Advantage, there's 52 options. Let's look at them and figure out what makes sense. But if you work with a captive agent, they're only going to show you that one company, and that they have 2 drug programs and they've got supplements. Take your choice of 2. But that's not a choice. I want to look at all 23 and figure out the best one for me, please. Your supplements, what if you leave Illinois was the question for those 1,000, how many, Robin, 2,000 on Zoom?
We've got about 25. So, yeah,
Welcome,
thanks for
Zoomers.
repeating.
Glad to have you. You would keep your coverage, but you would lose your flexibility. Meaning Medicare is primary, Medicare is nationwide. Medicare continues to be your insurance. Whatever supplement you picked will continue to cover you wherever you move. But there will be a rate adjustment on your supplement due to regional factors. Chicagoland has a certain risk assessment, right? Different states have different risk assessments. Move to Iowa, your rates go down. Your greatest fear in Iowa is that you get sideswiped by a cow. Move to Florida, your rates are going to go up. Why would the rates go up in Florida? Because there's a lot of old people in Florida filing a lot of claims. That's driving your risk pool up. but you would maintain your primary coverage, which is good nationwide, and you would maintain your supplement. But in Illinois, if you stay in Illinois, we have the ability to move you to that carrier that does not ask medical questions.
Because my friend is leaving Illinois,
Why would anyone leave Illinois? Isn't that crazy?
but she didn't want a CPO because they didn't have Blue Cross Blue Shield in Tennessee.
They do have Blue Cross Blue Shield in Tennessee. It's called Anthem. Okay, but again, you're getting, and I promise you, you're getting a partial sentence and a half truth, and someone who's making a move that doesn't fully understand what they did initially. That happens a lot, Rob.
So we have the same confusion in the virtual audience right now in the chat. People are asking a similar question. The thing that you need to realize is that when you're in the path of original Medicare, the left side of this chart, your network is any doctor anywhere in the US that accepts Medicare. Your supplement insurer is your secondary bill payer. So it travels with you wherever you go. It works wherever you are. The only thing you ever need to ask a provider is, do you take Medicare? And if the answer is yes, your supplement is going to work regardless of the insurance company. If you're in Advantage, that's a different situation.
We'll get there.
And we'll get there in a minute.
Fish. But with Medicare primary, can't say it enough. Any doctor, any hospital, anywhere in the United States, they take Medicare, you're in. That's what makes it so dynamic. The supplements will vary by region. We'll find different sweet spots in different states. We're licensed at this point in 14 states. Think of anywhere people are leaving Illinois, the Sun Belt, we've got all those states and we can help you there too, please.
And you might not be able to answer this, but how does Cigna align with the top four?
I would say, and the question was a direct question again, and I will give my best answer because it was a direct question. How does Cigna align with the big four supplements? They're there. They're a name we've heard of before, but their sweet spot is over here. They play much more over here and with the drug programs. I don't want to say it's an afterthought, but they're not one of the big players. Okay? Other questions? We're good. So we're looking at this field of play. We're looking at 10 packages of coverage. Oh my Lord, how do we decide? Well, we look at the different levels of coverage, and certainly the top three traditionally, if we were to look at this market, 90% of all supplements would fall into one of these three buckets. Levels of coverage. The F, the G, the N have traditionally driven this market. F for years was the most popular for two reasons. One, it was the most simplistic, so easy to understand. F says as long as you fill out that check and mail it in every month, it's going to pick up 100%. All that exposure, all this stuff that we looked at, the deductible, the co-insurance, the co-payments, F wipes it out. Terrific and wonderful. But remember what we said. Insurance companies are happy to do more, but the more they do, the more they charge. F would be unlike any insurance you've ever seen before. Get those 5 knee replacements, you never see a bill. We used to joke that F, the only way you could ever have better coverage would be if you were a member of Congress at one point in time. But the issue with F is it was overpriced for what it was doing. It has been for years. We've been ragging on F for 15 years because the better alternative has been G and continues to be G, has been for years. The only G does almost everything F does. Wait a second, there's an empty box. Yep, you're going to reach into your pocket and pay for something. Well, F pays for it. I know, but F overcharges you for simply paying the Part B deductible. I got 40 companies. That F is going to be in every instance at least $50 more per month than the G. So let's do the math. I've got F. I've got the Cadillac. The agent told me it was the best possible coverage. I bought the F and I'm paying $50 more per month to have that F. Okay, but what are you getting for $50 a month is $600 a year. And what's the one benefit you're getting for your $600? They're paying the $233. You got to be kidding me. You pay the $233 and save the difference. This is like your automobile insurance. The higher the deductible, the lower the premium. So on those pages, page 2, put $233 in there. That's your deductible. And it will lower your premiums, and the intersection of value is clear. G is a better value, and I will tell you here tonight, F is for foolish. We've said that for 15 years, and the government finally caught on to what we were saying. And there 2 years ago, they stopped marketing F to new enrollees. You can still get it, Mr. and Mrs. Client. If you turn 65 before January 1st of 2020, you can still get the F. And Mr. and Mrs. Client, it's the Cadillac. It's the best possible. Why is the agent saying that? because it's the most damned expensive thing you can buy. And the more you spend, the higher their commissions, and it drives me crazy. Now, we'll run into people this open enrollment who have been driven to look for alternatives because they listened to the agent, and 10 years ago, they took the F, and now the F is really starting to escalate in price. It was always more expensive. G was always a better value, but now the F is really starting to jack up. Why would that be? Well, because if you were born before January 1st of 2020, you can still get F. And I know agents that the big line is, you got to get on the train before it leaves the station. Well, you're buying tickets on the Titanic. Because what's going on with the F is what's happening to your risk pool. Where'd the 65-year-olds, where'd the 66-year-olds go? Where'd those younger people go to help share in our claims? They're not there anymore. Now that risk pool is getting older and sicker and smaller and older and sicker. The healthy ones who know what's going on, they've already bolted. That's bad news for the ones who stuck behind. And we still have far too many people that are in F. We can rescue them. We've got a supplement company that doesn't ask medical questions. You're 85 and you've got emphysema. I care, but they don't. We'd be able to move you from the F. Maybe this G thing with the deductible makes sense. We can lower your premiums. Or maybe you take it one step further. If you don't go to the doctor all that much, maybe you'd accept a little bit more exposure, a little bit more participation. That would be the N as in Nancy. Nancy takes your cost sharing one step further. It says, not only will you pay the $233,
We can't hear you.
go to the emergency room and they send you home. That's your participation driving down premiums. That's why your $5,000 deductible is far less expensive than your $1,000 deductible on your automobile insurance. You've accepted more responsibility in return for lower premiums. Wait. So you're telling me the more I dig into my pocket and the more I agree to co-payments, that could potentially drive down premiums. Yeah, remember that when we talk about Advantage programs. Please.
We have a virtual question. What is the one company that doesn't ask medical questions?
Please tell me. What's the one company that does not ask medical questions? Blue Cross Blue
Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Yeah. They're the ones. Give us a wonderful tool for people who made bad decisions initially. They have the ability to make a mid-course adjustment, and that can be really important as these prices start to spiral out of control. So no deductible is more expensive than the deductible, which is more expensive than the deductible and co-payments, which is more expensive or less expensive rather than if you went totally crazy. And you can't quite make it out here, but the supplements have what they call a high deductible version. High deductible supplement says that you'd be willing to set up a firewall, a worst case scenario, a maximum out of pocket of $2,490. For some people, that's a scary number. But for anybody who's on an Affordable Care Act with a $7,000 deductible, that sounds pretty good to me. And that ain't a deductible. You're not paying up to $2,490 before you get coverage. You're paying along the way and taking advantage of that Medicare negotiated discount. They take the discount and then go 80-20, and that's what's going towards the $2,490. It would take some pretty serious stuff to get to $2,490 before they kick in and pick up 100%. But that's going to lower our premiums even further. One way to drive down premiums is with lower, more out of pocket, driving premiums down because you accepted more responsibility. Please.
The options of F through N, they're all part of this lower back here, the supplemental.
Correct, on the second page. Was there a question there, or that was just a statement?
There was a question.
Exactly right. We're looking at here, we're investigating what's inside this box. What are you going to put into place to make this A and B complete? It can be very over the top. It can be much more participation on your part. What is appropriate for your needs? That's what's important here. The difference between F and G is crystal clear. G is a better value. This N could be a better value as well. The difference between G and N, female turning 65, ballpark number, about $30 a month. Well, $30 a month, that's not much. No, it's not. It's $360 a year. Yeah, but that's not fair. We're not comparing an apple to an apple. We're comparing two different products. This has a deductible and then you walk in everything else. This has a deductible and co-payments. I agree, but with $360 in savings and $20 doctor visits, I'm telling you, you got to go to the doctor more than 18 times a year for N to have been a bad choice. Most people, if you're going to the doctor more than 18 times a year, we certainly want to hear about that because we wouldn't put you in the N. But most baby boomers, we hear it time and again. They're going to the doctor once, maybe twice a year, a couple of times if they get the sniffles. But this is a very interesting concept in driving down your premiums. And one more time, I'm going to bring up the risk pool. The risk pool of G is different than the risk pool of N. I don't mind whether you're with Cigna or Blue Cross or AARP, the G risk pool files more claims than the N risk pool. Why? Who takes G? Well, I can't disagree. It's the best sleeping pill that money can buy. It's phenomenal. Pay $233 and walk on everything else. Pay $233, after which the MRI, the CAT scan, the X-ray, the stress test, the surgery, the kidney transplant cover. It's amazing. But who takes G? Typically, people who've had a brush with dread disease, or they're afraid of things, they typically go to the doctor more. That's why they got the G. They don't like the idea of doctor co-payments. Yeah, well, but who takes an insurance program that has co-payments? Somebody that's not afraid of co-payments. Who's not afraid of co-payments? Somebody who doesn't go to the doctor a lot. So we see this now on the field of play, true among all companies. The G is escalating at a faster rate than the N. N typically tends to be a little bit healthier pool of people. And that's another important decision. Right now, that difference could be 18 doctor visits. I'll tell you in another 5 years, that spread's going to get even wider because these things go up a little bit each year based upon the utilization of the people who are in your pool. Questions on supplements, please.
Yes, just going back to that, when you activate D and you have to pick your company, are you picking your company and having to stick with it for the rest of your life, or are you picking the plan, like the ABCD?
You find a plan that makes the most sense for you. And then we shop that plan and find out who has the best value. Some have household discounts, some have additional benefits like a gym club member. There can be any number of possibilities, but the first thing you want to do is assess what makes sense for you. Then we're going to find the product, then we're going to find the company. But yeah, you better be pretty darn sure that that's a good choice and a good company.
Like you're picking the plan and the company that you have to live with for the rest of your life.
You do have some flexibility, okay? You've got a company that doesn't ask medical questions. You also have some alternatives called Advantage. We'll talk about that in a second, but I agree completely. This is a very important decision. You did what your neighbor did? Well, what were you thinking? Well, he seems pretty smart and he might have chosen perfectly for him, but he didn't choose correctly for you because your situation is different. And that's important. There were a couple of other questions. Please.
And you said with the supplements, is it still your tied to the amount of days in the hospital and the amount of outpatient care in your first life with?
Well, that's what you get with A and B. These products make that go away. For example, if you do the G and you pay your first $233, remember the Part B deductible? After that, everything's covered 100%.
So you could stay in the hospital longer, or you could have longer.
Kidney transplant, you're still covered. I mean, it's amazing coverage. It really is, because Medicare is primary. G is just supporting that coverage. Okay, over there, please.
She mentioned for the rest of your life, you can change companies that you deal with every year, right? In the enrollment period.
It is incorrect. You have missed that completely. You get 1 year on the supplements. Drug programs, we get a guaranteed do-over. Advantage programs, we get to change those willy-nilly, okay? But the supplements have a 1 year window initially. 6 months before you activate B, 6 months after you activate B, all of these companies got to take you. But after that 6 months goes away, now you can change these every month of the year, but now they can ask you medical questions. They can underwrite. There are 40 companies that offer supplements in Illinois. 39 out of 40 are going to say, we'd love to do business with you. Just answer these 16 medical questions. If you answer yes to any of them, they say, thank you so much, but no, thank you. Okay. So it makes that first decision point important. There was a question out there lurking at the back.
You mentioned about, not being available for newly eligible people, and I see that you hand out often to C.
Also eliminated. Why? Because both the C and the F had no first dollar participation. They picked up the Part B deductible. We've learned that you got to slow these people down. And what happened with F, one of the problems was with no deductible, no co-insurance, no co-payments, these people were going to the doctor like it was going out of style. I did a supplement of a presentation. This was several years ago. And I was, again, kind of picking on F. I'm sorry, because I think there's a better value. And the lady in the front row goes, well, I've got F and I love it. And I'm like, that's terrific. That's great. I hope that you're getting your money's worth because, you know, it is a little expensive. She goes, I go to the doctor every 2 weeks. I said, oh, I'm sorry. I hope it's not serious. And she literally said, no, he likes my hats. The audience, you could have heard a pin drop. What? She goes to the doctor. It becomes a social event. Her daughter picks her up. They go to the doctor, no charge for her. She puts on a new hat. Doctor compliments the hat, says, shashing, thank you, Medicare. Doesn't cost her a penny. And then her and her daughters left for lunch. It became a social event. Terrifying, because everybody in the room was like, lady, we're paying for that. Didn't register. She has no first dollar participation, please.
So, you have C. That could be an incentive for overutilization for medical providers.
I don't know if it's an incentive because I don't know the person involved. I do know that C and F are no longer adding new people into those risk pools. I know that by definition, those pools are getting smaller. We move people out of F every week who have come to the realization, and it may take them a while. And when we talk about Advantage, we're going to talk about that. Most people here make one decision, throw it in the drawer, never look at it again, and that's a tactical blunder because things roll on. It's a viciously competitive environment, and you've got flexibility and the ability to be able to move somebody, even with medical conditions. That's a blessing. I mean, that's not something you hear much in the state of Illinois. You've got a blessing in Illinois, please.
But if you are stuck with the decision you made, why not throw out the door?
Well, because the drug programs are dynamic and change every
Okay,
year. You
but
should
I
look
mean,
at
this
that.
plan, I mean,
Well, you do have choices. You do have a company that does not ask medical questions. You might downshift your coverage. You should certainly entertain at least the thought process of looking at Advantage programs. This is a dynamic environment. It's not to your advantage to not take a look at it. That's what we say because we want to make sure you're making value decisions. Questions?
So one question from the chat, I think there's some confusion about being able to change your supplements every year during the annual enrollment without health questions.
Nope.
That's actually not the case. So these policies are month-to-month policies. You can change them any month out of the year. Your ability to move freely is going to be predicated on your health. Because when that 6-month window closes upon activating Part B, which everybody gets once in their lifetime, you're going to be out of your open enrollment window for a Medigap plan. So the annual enrollment that happens every fall is not your ability to jump into a different supplement or change your supplement and sidestep underwriting. Okay, that's a big misunderstanding.
Yeah, people, and again, a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. I'll go with the cheapest company and the cheapest price because I know I can change them every year. That's not correct. You've not made a fully informed decision. A and B good, but not complete. We pick up a supplement based upon your needs. We're still not complete on this side of the equation. We need a drug program. And the drug program's wonderful, viciously competitive, complete transparency. We can see what everybody's doing. This year, we've got 23 different drug programs. Why 23? They're all doing the same thing, right? No, they're doing different things, different tools for different situations. This year, we open the least expensive drug program is $6.90 a minute. $6.90 a month. The most expensive drug program is $145 a month. Well, as you might imagine, this guy's in pretty good shape. This guy's a wreck, but he'd pay a higher premium to get a lower monthly premium or payment on his drugs and a broader formulary, a bigger selection of the drugs that he could choose from. The beauty of the system is we can see what all of them are doing, but they all got to play by Medicare rules. You don't have to take a drug program when you first come to Medicare, but they're not going to forget about you. And what will happen is for every month you go without a drug program and you don't have creditable coverage. What if I keep working? What happens then? You've got creditable coverage. You've delayed your necessity to get a drug program. But you come to Medicare, and in years gone by, I could understand, because most of the drug programs, when they first came out in 2006, were 40 or 50 bucks a month. And Dad was going to be damned if he was going to get a drug program, and he wasn't taking anything, and anything he ever needed to take was going to be generic, so I'm not going to pay that. That's silly. But the years roll by, and that penalty does not forget about you. It's negligible. This year, it's about 35 cents per month, but those 35 cents keep adding up. We had a woman last year, actually, we dealt with her son. She's 90. And now inevitably, the march of time has you start to take more expensive prescription drugs. And the doctor comes to you and says, hey, you need to start taking this miracle drug. It's called Eliquis. It's a blood thinner. It's $560 a month. And she found that out and realized that there was no other way to get that med for less than $560 a month. So she needs a drug program. That's cool. We can catch her. And we can enroll her during this annual election period from October 15th to December 7th. Game on. But the problem is we'll enroll her and we'll help her with that med, but they haven't forgotten about the late enrollment penalty. And she's got, well, at the point we signed her up, 15 years of not having a drug program at 35 cents a month. 35 cents a month is about $5 a year. 15 years times $5. That was a penalty of $75 that she doesn't pay once. She pays it every month for the rest of her life. Period, and we can certainly help her with the cost of Eliquis, but she's facing that penalty in perpetuity. We want to make sure that we're not veering into problems with penalties. All of the drug programs are going to have different formularies. That means they're going to treat different drugs differently. One program may cover your med, another may not. All of them are going to have stages of coverage, but we move through those stages of coverage based upon what you're taking. And that makes this a very confusing idea. Those stages of coverage are driven by what you're taking. You've got an annual deductible. Most of the programs have a deductible. That deductible, yes, please.
The library closes in about 10 minutes, so I
Good to know.
well,
What we'll do is you've got our website. We can certainly continue this, and we've got one that's posted on the website, but I'll wrap it up quickly. Be careful of the drug program. The drug program has 3 stages of coverage, and we move through those stages based upon what you're taking. The more expensive medications, you may have a minor copayment, but they aren't tracking your copayments. They're tracking the retail value of your drugs. And if the retail value of your drugs exceeds $4,430 worth of drugs, you'll fall into the coverage gap. In that gap, you then are still protected, but now you're paying 25% of the retail value of the drug. It's critical to understand this, and I'd like to spend more time with you. It's very important. Where we would go to find that would be Medicare.gov. Medicare.gov, and this ability to shop all the different drug programs. The different drug programs that are available to you from October 15th to December 7th. Critically important to look at that. We can enter your meds. We can run you an estimation based upon what you're taking of what your next calendar year is going to look like. And it's very important to understand that you're running towards the coverage gap, not based upon the copayment of your medication, but based upon the retail value of your medication. You can fall into the coverage gap in short order. This particular guy falls in August because of the retail value of his Eliquis. The drug program is critically important. You want to look at it every year. We want to make sure we're not in jeopardy with the drug program that we're in. Original Medicare, good but not complete. Pick up a drug program and a supplement. And many people will start here, but they'll also find in their 80s, this starts to get very expensive. And when that happens, they may be allured by the ads on TV. The idea of a Medicare Advantage program, a different concept. Remember, we said Medicare was good, but unlimited exposure is terrifying. We said Medicare was good, but it wasn't running on the $170 a month that you're paying. The government's dropping way more than that. And they'll send that to a private insurance company, and the private insurance company can step in and replace original Medicare. What's going on here is a combination of higher out-of-pocket. Remember, with the supplements, the more we pay out of pocket, the more that premium comes down. And the concept on Advantage, they would be more network restricted. We're not going to any doctor, any hospital now. Now we're staying within a more narrow network from an insurance provider. AARP, Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, Aetna, any number of companies offer these Advantage programs, and they're all in play right now, but they all play by Medicare rules. You gotta have A and B. You're not getting away from that. You gotta pay that Part B premium. This program would replace original Medicare. You put that card away, and you would find that now everything is run through a single company running the entire show. They're available by county, so we'll see different benefits in Missouri than we'll see in Cook County or DuPage by county. And these things can include additional benefits that can make them very attractive. The advertisements on TV, partial sentences, half truths, floating asterisks, but we can pick up some things here that aren't covered by original Medicare. But in the world of supplements and in the world of drug programs and in the world of Advantage programs, Medicare's running the show. All of these programs, all of these Advantage programs will be more restrictive by nature. They'll have networks. They'll all have co-payments for services, but those co-payments will vary by company. They'll all have capped exposure, and that's really important. A firewall, a worst case scenario, if it all goes wrong, a maximum out of pocket that we don't have with just original Medicare. They'll include drug programs, and there can be sweeteners hiding in these drug programs. Sometimes you'll find a medication is treated more favorably in an Advantage situation than it is on a standalone drug program. It's really important to research all of your options. And they're all going to be available to us during this annual election period. You'll see a slew of advertising. But what you have here is a product that can make a lot of sense for somebody who, instead of going with original Medicare, these prices start to get expensive as we age. Perhaps we look at the alternative called Advantage. And yes, indeed, Joe Namath is correct. These can be zero premium plans, zero premium. But wait a second, we don't say free. They're not free because now we've got co-payments for services. We still have to have A and B in place. We pay that Part B premium. But on this side of the equation, it can make sense depending on what you're paying for your supplement and your drug program. The devil here is in the details. We do a lot of Advantage business, but we probably do less Advantage business than many agents because we're very, very focused on making sure you understand exactly what's going on with an Advantage program. Robin and I say thank you for coming. Got it done with 4 minutes left to spare. You've got our website. If you're online and you're looking at this, please visit our website. You can see a full presentation that's been taped that's up there. We have more seminars coming up. That yellow flyer right there will show you that we've got a lot more coming up in the next couple of weeks. And we thank you for coming. Please.
Does Medicare cover dental coverage?
It will cover disease and injury, but original Medicare does not cover dental. That's where the Advantage programs can have an advantage. They can pick up some dental, and that can be a reason to look at them. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming.